What's going on, everyone? So let's talk about Darvin Ham and his announcement on the starting lineup. I got a lot of questions, a lot of people wanting to know my thoughts and opinions. So let's talk about my thoughts and opinions on it. So without LeBron, I get it, makes sense, right? There are some benefits in having Dennis Schroeder and D'Lo, right? Both are very different style players. D'Lo is more slow paced, more methodical. Gets in mid range, 3 point, kind of better at creating his own shot. Where Schroeder is more of like the driving kick, right? Like Schroeder's closer to Russ than he is D'Lo, right? He's closer to Westbrook than he is D'Lo, and Schroeder is this, high engine, high motor type guy, adds some ball pressure, allows him to, guard guys all the way up the court. He's good off of, running and fighting over screens and stuff. Just a little more physical, right? Can get to the hoop. We've seen him have some just great monster games. When he's clicking, right? And you see him, and it's just like, man, when everything's flowing together, and Germany Schroeder is dominating. It's a great sight to see. Consistency is an issue with him. Overall defense at times can be an issue with him, but he does provide some good things. And having D'Lo play off the ball makes a little sense, right? I understand the benefits, and I get the idea of having those two guys, right? And they both have a little more size. It's not, Kendrick Nunn and Patrick Beverly, two 6 foot guards doing that. It's guys with more size. D'Lo 6'4". You have Schroeder, 6'3". So again, I get having that. Darvin Ham also really likes ball pressure. One of the things in Milwaukee, right, with the Bucks, difference is they have like Drew Holiday, and they have guys that Allen, guys like that are very tenacious, I guess. They could get after it, and just great elite defensive guards. We don't really have that. Like D'Lo is serviceable. He's good defensively. He's actually been a lot better than I thought he would be. And Schroeder at times is really good at just ball pressure and just being kind of pesty, right? He's kind of a pest. But with LeBron James in the starting five, it doesn't make a lot of sense, right? Like, I get Schroeder and D'Lo without LeBron, right? So you have some playmaking, you have different looks, you have that penetrator, that guy that can get to the hoop and drive and kick. Although Schroeder doesn't really drive and kick a lot, but I see the idea. When you have LeBron, it makes zero sense because LeBron's going to have the ball 90% of the time. So why would you want two ball handlers next to LeBron James when all they're going to do is bring the ball up and have LeBron? And now LeBron is your drive and kick. LeBron is the guy that can provide what D'Lo would provide. So again, it doesn't make a lot of sense with LeBron James in the lineup. When you don't have LeBron, okay, I get it. But with LeBron, why wouldn't you want to have a defensive shooter like an Austin Reeves or even a Troy Brown, right? A guy with size, a guy that has been really consistent for the Lakers overall. I mean, he's not great. He's not like this elite guy, but he's been very consistent. He's hit some big shots for us all season. Defensively, rebounding. He's been great rebounding the ball, right? Like, I would rather them go with Troy Brown at the 2, D'Lo at the 1, and then Rui, LeBron, and AD than Dennis Schroeder. It doesn't make any sense with LeBron James. And then on top of that, who's running our bench unit? We don't have a point guard off the bench. Austin Reeves in spots, sure, okay, I get it. You want to run Austin Reeves with a unit. He's just kind of bringing the ball up and setting the offense, especially against bench units. Okay, I get it. But what happens come playoff time? When teams are more aggressive, the game is more physical. Decision making is more highlighted and important. Teams are, attacking and exploiting your weaknesses more. Teams are running you off the 3-point line, packing the paint harder, being more aggressive, right? I don't see that being a formula of success of having Austin Reeves running the second unit. I love Austin Reeves. I think he's great. I think he provides a lot to this Lakers team. I think that, again, in spots, right? You run a couple sets. You want to try some stuff. Cool. I get it. But to do that game in and game out doesn't make sense. And look, I get Darvin Ham has a very specific way he wants to run this team, very specific way that he's using his past experiences in other teams and trying to make it work with this team. But this team isn't built and structured the way that he wants it built and structured. If we had a Drew Holiday, sure, it would make a lot of sense. Dennis Schroeder is not Drew Holiday. Dennis Schroeder is not a ball pressing guard that can be an elite defender and lock down guys and generate a lot of steals and generate. We are a very specific team. And the problem is, I don't think Darvin Ham is a bad coach. A lot of people think Darvin Ham is trash and he's the problem. I don't think that's what it is. I just think that he is limited in he needs a very specific type of team. This team is not built under those specifications, right? Like if we had prime Patrick Beverley, it would make a lot more sense, right? You go Patrick Beverley, you go like Dennis Schroeder, or or Drew. Like if we had prime Patrick Beverley, that's essentially like our smaller Drew Holiday, right? Or like a Tony Allen. That might even be a better comparison, right? Like if we had like a Tony Allen, sure, right? Makes a lot of sense. We don't have that team. And a lot of people really don't like the 3-guard lineups, right? Darvin Ham still playing 3-guard stuff. I don't mind that at all. Like I don't mind Austin Reeves, D'Lo, and like Beasley. That's really good, right? Because there's a big difference between 3 6-foot guards that can't shoot and that you have guarding the 1, 2, and 3, then 3 6'5" guards that can all shoot, all play make, all operate, all defend. There's a big difference between those two. So I don't mind it. I like the lineups of like AD, Vanderbilt, Reeves, D'Lo, and Beasley or something like that, or Brown or whatever. Actually, those are really good lineups, and they've worked for us. Granted, it's only been a couple games, so we'll see how it progresses. And I understand that Darvin Ham, he's trying to figure this out on the fly, right? We only have like 24 more games, and he's got to test lineups, what pieces work, what doesn't work. Okay, these guys work really well together. And I understand he's trying to experiment, he's trying to do stuff. But you can look at this roster, and you got a clear, definitive kind of like rotation, in my opinion, right? You have essentially, in my opinion, the way I would structure it is, like I said, go D'Lo at the point guard. Then you have Austin Reeves, Troy Brown. I like Beasley off the bench as a shooter, but I would prefer, a Austin Reeves or Troy Brown as like your shooting guard. Either one, I don't really care. Austin Reeves, in my opinion, makes more sense because of the way he plays with LeBron. So personally, I would go with, like I said, D'Lo, Reeves, Rui, LeBron, and AD. I know a lot of people want Vanderbilt to start, but our offense this year has been very slow, and we need the offense. You have Vanderbilt to close. That would be so you basically, your closing lineup would then be, D'Lo, Reeves, Vanderbilt, LeBron, and AD. Unless like Beasley, like if Beasley is like 7 of 8 or something like that, or 6 of 8, from 3-point range, then you probably close with him over Reeves. It just comes down, like the closing lineup would be like, which guy is shooting the 3 ball the best? If it's Beasley, okay, then he closes with D'Lo and Vanderbilt and AD and LeBron. Cool. That's kind of like your rotation. And then so your starting 5 is D'Lo, Reeves, Rui, LeBron, AD. Your next 5 is Dennis Schroeder, and then one of, Troy Brown, Lonnie Walker, Austin Reeves. You kind of work out that rotation, right? Vanderbilt, Mo Bamba, and then Winning Gabriel. There you go. There's your guys. Sprinkle in a little Max Christie here and there, but he's a 19-year-old rookie. We're trying to get to the playoffs, stuff like that. To me, it's very clear. You have, if you're going up against a sizable team, you have sizable lineups. Going up against a fast-paced team, you go fast-paced lineups, right? If you're going, you adjust accordingly. That's the beauty of all this depth, all this youth, all this size, all of the intangibles that we have now, we didn't have earlier this season. And I think Darvin Ham is operating, granted, it's been 2 games. And I do think the first game against Golden State, I thought was one of his best coaching games. I thought he did a great job. He was decisive with his lineups. They ran plays. They ran sets on both the defensive side and the offensive side. They had clear execution. He never let Golden State get on runs, used his timeouts correctly. He did a really good job coaching in that Golden State game. Yesterday's game, I don't think it mattered who the coach was. Sometimes guys just shoot the lights out. And I saw people that were like, oh, they should have ran off of Damian Lillard more and double teamed him. Everybody, he had 8 of 23 threes. yeah, that's a third of them, but we still lose that game. And they would have gotten more wide open, better looks at the 3. It was one of those games, right? It just sucks it happened against the Lakers. It sucked that we're in the position we're in and we can't really afford those games, but it happens. I don't really judge Darvin Ham on that game. He wasn't great, don't get me wrong. Wasn't great at all, but I think he was just trying to kind of grasp at straws and let's just throw out a bunch of stuff at the wall and see what sticks that game. But going forward, I don't like the idea of starting Schroeder and D'Lo with LeBron back. I just don't. It doesn't make a lot of sense. It does when LeBron isn't playing, but when LeBron is playing, it doesn't make any sense. And I just think Darvin Ham is stuck on his specific way of coaching, but doesn't have the personnel in order to do that. Also, I think he's operating this team as the players he had previously rather than the guys he currently has. And maybe Dennis Schroeder is Frank Vogel's Avery Bradley. Maybe that's what it is. But he's got to break off of it. You have a clear, definitive rotation. You have guys that clearly deserve to play, start. You have your starting point guard. You have your backup point guard. Utilize them correctly. Dennis Schroeder is better as a backup point guard than he is as a starting point guard. He might be one of the best backup point guards in the league. I'm not saying he's the best. I want to clarify that because I know people are going to be like, well, what about Tyus? I'm not saying he's the best, but I think he's shown enough in the past, 6 man of the year type guy, that he can be one of the best backup point guards. And I do think he adds a lot to this team as a backup point guard. But in the starting unit with LeBron James, doesn't make a lot of sense when you have D'Lo. And last point, to be fair to Darvin Ham, I'd have to look up the stats this year, but last time LeBron, AD, and Schroeder played together, they were a plus 15.5 when the 3 of them started. So Darvin Ham is probably looking at it and going, they are a plus, and I imagine that they're probably a plus unit even now. So that could be something else as well. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion, so I pass the question on to you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments section below. What do you think? Again, doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I hope that doesn't last long. I hope that Darvin Ham makes that change, makes that correction, but we'll see. Again, love to hear your thoughts and opinions. Let me know.